everyone, and welcome back to Art with Miss Choate. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your weekend. I know I am. So today for Art in the Studio, Saturday studio time, we're going to be doing something pretty easy. It's great for any age level, including adults. I haven't seen any adults post photos lately of their work, so hopefully this one gets you guys motivated. We're just going to do 100 colors. It's literally that simple. You can be using paint, you could be using colored pencils, crayons, it literally doesn't matter. But what we're gonna try to do is how many times can we combine them to make different colors. Now 100 is the goal. Obviously, if you're doing this with a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old, you're not gonna make it to 100. Maybe if you kept doing this every single day, you'd get to 100 after a year. But 100 is the goal for adults, high schoolers, teenagers, my 6th graders. I hope you're watching this. So please, 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 goal is 100. I'm going to try to get to 100 too. How many ways can you blend? Not just blending a blue and a red. That's boring. What if you did, every single color on this palette? What color do you get? 5 colors on the palette. What do you get? Play with it. Some of the colors are going to be nasty, and that's okay. Let's see what these colors do. Note it, maybe even note it on your page. How you want to present your page is also up to you, because it's going to turn into a piece of its own. Not only are you exploring, thinking about how the science of the colors work. Obviously, red and blue make purple, and yellow and red make orange. That's obvious. We know this. But maybe for some people we don't know this, so it's we'll learn it now. But let's think about this like science. Let's think about this like review for some of us. And let's push ourselves and see how many different shades we can get. Maybe there's a particular shade that you struggle with. Maybe that's getting your skin tone for a portrait. So practice a billion different, because you're not just one tone. You're a million different, like look at these under eyes. You're a million different tones. So maybe you're just doing 100 skin tones. Maybe you're doing maybe you're into makeup and you're doing 100 different lip colors. I'm thinking about that because I wore lipstick today. It could be anything. Or we're just playing and all the colors, because I love all the colors. So I've talked enough. Let's get started. So remember what I said, the way you set up your grid or your 100 colors is really gonna say a lot about your art. Now you don't even have to grid it out. You could just do a color here, like swatches on your paper, or you could do a grid, or you can leave yourself a little bit of room, or you could be doing this on grid paper if you have some. So I'm going to, you could even use tape. Oh, I'm almost out of this tape. So you could use tape to do some lines, so you get really crisp, clean lines. You could do just drawing. So I can't find a normal ruler in my house, so I'm just making do with what I have. So it's gonna be, this might be a little wonky. I'm going to try to hold it down. I'm going to do part of my paper with lines to show you like what the different options can look like, and then part of it, the way I would normally do it would be without lines, but some of you perfectionists out there might want to have lines. And these might not even turn out perfect because I am not using a normal ruler. But you guys, we gotta use what we have in our house. We have limits, and we gotta just make it work. Because, you know what? I think creativity blossoms when we have limits placed on us. When you have all the options in the world, I don't know about you, but when you're like, when you look at the TV guide, I don't have cable anymore, but when you look at the TV guide and you're going through all those options, oh my goodness, you get overwhelmed. Or Netflix, oh my God, Netflix, I can stare at that screen forever, and you don't know what to pick because there's too many options. Well, right now for art, you don't have that many options. You have what you have around you, and you need to think of new ways to make it interesting. So I really do believe that creativity blossoms in this environment. And so maybe I'll embrace this like wonky lines. They're coming out better now that I'm not like pressing it down. I'm just holding my paper still. So you could fill up your whole paper with this grid. Now remember, our goal is 100, so you might need more than one sheet of paper, or maybe you get a really big piece of paper, or maybe your squares are really tiny. however you want that to work. So remember, I also said an option was some tape. I found another roll, so I'm gonna give myself, now I didn't cut it perfectly because I had a really wide tape, but again, maybe you embrace that perfectly imperfect and you set yourself up a grid that can be removed. So I'll do 3 ways on this. Now obviously if you had a thinner tape you could make these quite perfect. I'm going to embrace this idea and continue with this, but you would get the idea even if you could do it perfect. And like I said, this piece should ultimately become art itself, so maybe you decide like me to do 3 different ways. And hopefully you're not like me struggling with this tape over here. And I could either line it up or I could go slick, you know. Remember, think about every single action you're doing on this painting. Even these setup stages are helping you create your piece. Every single thing you're doing is creating your art. So don't just toss away half of it. Really, really think about how you're creating and what is your intent. I know today most of our intent is just to practice and explore colors, but explore space while you're at it. Explore all these ideas. Composition. So how your painting is set up, that's what we're doing right now. Maybe while you're doing this, you're brainstorming ideas of like, why are you making this? Are you making this to just practice colors? Are you making this with some other deeper meaning? All right, so remember our goal is to create as many different color combinations as we can. So I'm gonna show you crayons, color pencils, and paint. So you can also practice with all of the supplies you have at home. So we can start simple. You could even have your first one just be blue. Now remember how you're doing it. Are you controlling your edges? Are you going right to that line? That's what's creating this art. So now I could do my next block using the blue that's on my brush. Maybe I do a couple that are using this blue. Maybe I go in a straight line, or maybe I jump around. But remember, you need to start blending those colors because otherwise these 3 are all the same and they don't count. So let's make it count. So I'm gonna add some yellow to it, but not to my first one because that's my blue. So now I've added that yellow and now we have our second color. Woohoo, we're up to 2. Now I could take this green, but now that doesn't count, so I could either add another color to it, or I could make it, even adding more pigment to it makes it a different color. So your quantities of color also matter. If you're doing 80% yellow and 20% blue, then that's a different color already. Maybe I'll even do more yellow to less blue. Now you can tell we definitely have a different color, so that's good. Now I could either bounce around some more. So this is where you really need to think like, what are you trying to say with your painting, or are you just gonna just have fun with it? I'm just gonna have fun and kind of go random. So that's already a different color, so I'll do this color again. Right here. And I'll add something else on top of it. I'll clean my brush before I do that. Now you could be really careful about it and be like this color, this color, this color, this color, or you can just go random. The problem with if you go random is you're gonna lose track once you get into those high numbers. So you get the idea. Keep blending those colors. Keep playing what do they do Maybe I'll start now, add a little bit of this pink to this yellow. So we're going to start to get an orange or like a dusty pinkish color here. I like how that color is turning out. And this is where you might want to take notes because, for instance, that color, I've never created that color with these watercolors before. So I could take a pencil and I could write directly on it that I use, and you can, so I know some people like number them if they're in this, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I could say I used number 5 with 18. So I could just simply write 5 and 18. So I know that's how I got that combination. You don't have to take notes. I have some students that I think really enjoy that in their sketchbook, and they'll go back and look at those later for a different painting. And so you're really using this as a study. I know some people are like, wait, you can study in art? Yes, of course you can. There's lots of different ways to practice and use your time. And who knows, maybe you'll discover that you love painting little squares or rectangles. And what should I add to this? I'll add maybe a blue. And remember, you don't have to just do 2 colors. You can go in, while we're talking about it, we have a red and a blue. Let's go ahead and add a yellow. Why not? Let's see what happens. Does anyone know what's going to happen? Look at that, we got this beautiful gray. Now it does matter kind of how much of each one or how you layer those. It's getting a little like musty. So I could add a little bit of red back on top. Now you guys, I'm just using normal paper for this, so normal printer paper. So do be careful. You might have to wait for this area to dry and come back to it. If you're a little impatient, you can use a blow dryer or just start to fan it because you don't want to get a hole in your paper. And I don't know about you guys, but not all of us have a lot of watercolor paper at home. I have a few sheets left, so I want to try to savor them. So for this practice, I can do it on this paper. So we get the idea with those. Now I could do the same thing over here with the tape. The nice thing about the tape, just remember those watercolor cities that we did. If you don't do too much water, it will not bleed. Let's see what happens when we do a green and orange. It's not gonna be great. Oh, look at that. We got this like interesting rust color. All colors are important, so it's good to see what we can get with them. And the nice thing is with the tape, you can get a little sloppy. Red and purple. Get a little deeper purple. And maybe I'll add a yellow. And then we'll see, like we could remove that tape. We've got this nice clean bar in between them. We could go in, you could even, if you want to combine lessons, Zentangle, or that's where your notes could be. That would be beautiful if your notes were right there. Now I want to show you with colored pencils. So you get the idea with paint. Color pencils are so similar. We can go in and carefully. Now the nice thing with pencil is you could really get up to that line. You could decide where are you coloring to. Do you think about the motions that you're coloring with? And also I can feel underneath my paper, I must have something underneath there like shards of a pencil or something because I'm getting little bumps and I don't like that. So make sure your desktop is clean. Now you could go back, I would recommend going multiple directions with your pencil because I still have the white of the paper showing. And for my second coat, because I do think about colored pencils as coats, I'm gonna go back to make it a little richer. You don't have to press terribly hard, you just have to go multiple times. And now I can start to, take another pencil and start to mix. And I sometimes move my pencil in a circular motion. You can see I'm going kind of like this to really make sure oops, I went to that one, but I'll put orange in that one then. I'm really making sure all the grain of the paper is covered. and we're gonna keep going. And so I'm gonna do orange in this one because I slipped up. And look at that. You know, I didn't get frustrated with myself. I did say oops, but I'm moving on. I didn't want orange in this one, but it's okay. Try not to get frustrated. It's a pretty easy idea what we're doing today. So let yourself be a little carefree. Let yourself play, experiment, think about it like science. Maybe you know what these colors do, maybe you don't. I mean, I know in theory what these colors do, but sometimes you never know exactly what pigments are inside. So it's interesting to see what happens. And I am one that does like to take notes on my colors. I like it at the beginning and then I get lazy. And maybe this is a project that you keep in your sketchbook and you keep going back to as like a little brain break throughout your day. Maybe you're doing e-learning and when you need to take a break, you can do a couple colors in here, label them and go back to it. I like having projects that you can come and go to. And then let's try some color pen. And maybe you do, like if you're doing tape, maybe I come in with color pencil here. Bring that color pencil right up to the tape, or right up to the tape and the paint. Because remember, everything you're doing is part of your art. Now you might not, put this up in a show or anything like this. This could just, like I said, be practice or be a study. But you never know. This might turn into your new medium. Now, do be careful adding white and black to colors. I know sometimes it's really, you can see how much they get blended together when you add that white, but white tends to flatten a color. You really don't find much white in nature. You find lighter colors but you don't really, adding white, I'd rather you add yellow or add a light green. Adding white, you see how that just kind of flattened it out? I don't really enjoy that. Same thing with black. It just goes so dark. I'd rather use a really dark blue or dark purple. Because if we start to add black, boom. Oh, you just lose all those beautiful colors. I'm going to do it just to show you my point. But I'd much rather you just use a dark blue or a dark purple than going in with a black. But again, you're playing, you're experimenting for yourself. You're going to see what I mean when you do this yourself instead of me telling you. So now that you've seen some colored pencils, let's go into crayons, because I know a lot of my students, a lot of my friends watching, all we have at home is crayons. And honestly, I love crayons. The reason I love crayons is because they blend so smoothly because they're made of wax. And I know that a lot of my students, when I pull out crayons, they're not super happy about it. They think of it as like a little kid tool. However, they're so much more than that. I know that once they lose their point, and students don't tend to like them as much, but for real, they blend so nice. So I'll start by putting down some purple. Again, I'm leaving like a little bit of a buffer in between because that's what I am liking. But if you want to bring them right up next to each other, do remember about your craftsmanship. If you want to be super messy, sloppy, then make it a choice. Don't make it because you weren't thinking about it. Make it a conscious decision. So now I'm going to add some blue into that purple, and you're going to see what I mean. Boom, effortlessly, they blend together because of how creamy they are. They're just totally overlooked for adults. I use crayons. When I want to relax, I do this. And so now I'll do, maybe I want to compare that green next to this green. And you can really see why you should do mixed media, even as an adult, even as an upper grade student, why maybe you go in with a painting and then you do some crayon detail on top. I mean, who doesn't have a box of crayons or a bag of broken crayon bits laying around? Really make sure you go back and get those white areas. Now we can go in with another shade. And what really makes the crayon a little more mature is when you blend it. And I know my younger students, I do this all the time with kindergartners, blending crayons, they have so much fun because they didn't realize what they could do. So now maybe I'll do a crayon here in this box. And again, the tape really helps you be able to get messy and not be so worried. I'll do this box too. Maybe I'll try to do like a skin tone-ish. I don't know. We'll see what these oranges and cream colors turn out looking like. Maybe it'll be more like a Muppet tone. Isn't there a Muppet that's this orange color? Are Muppets on still? I don't know. Yeah, that's not. Well, let's see what happens if we add some red. And look at that. I just put 4 colors down so quickly because we have the tape, we have these marks, and let's see how it looks in between. Oh, that's such a beautiful crisp line. And now maybe I could go back with a paint or something. So even the crayons, they blend so nicely. Maybe I'll put this kind of cream color up by this pink up here. You can also play with putting these supplies together, like take the paint and then put the crayon on top right here in these squares. That'll count towards your 100. I don't even know how many I'm at anymore. I'll have to count in a minute. I'm gonna put a little dusty, whatever this color is. Red, it's just red. But yet when I was mixing with this peach, I thought it was a different color. Make sure you're still taking your time. You're taking as much time as you want to take. Get this paper towel out of my way. Make sure you're blending. Oh yeah, I'm liking how that's looking. So there we go. We have 3 different supplies: paint, crayon, marker, or I didn't do marker, but marker blends too. I don't have them out right now. So you see the idea. We're going to keep going. Let's see how many you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 without even trying. And there we have 100. Let's see how that looks. You might want to be careful if you did put down tape, but I am just so excited. I want to see what my finished piece looks like without this tape. And I hope you guys made it to 100 as well. Or like I said, do this in multiple sittings. Take your time, figure out what works for you. How is this? Oops, remember what I said about taking off that tape at an angle? Otherwise you're gonna get a little hole like I just did, but it's not too bad. So I just wanted to show you the multiple different ways with tape, leaving the white space around it, filling it in with other things. I like the white space around, even if it's just a little bit, but that's my opinion. I love how it started to look when I was just using my brush, especially down here. It reminds me kind of of bricks. This is where I felt like I was getting into my groove. And I felt like these boxes were too big for me. But again, you need to play, and I felt like these were too small. So it's up to you, play, and I hope you have fun. Experiment. Let's go.